Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Our top story, 21 people have been arrested over the violence in northwest Delhi's Jahangirpuri that took place on Saturday evening, in which 8 policemen and a civilian were injured. The police say 2 minors have also been apprehended for the violence which took place during a Hanuman Jayanti procession. In fact, the issue of Delhi's Jahangirpuri clashes has reached the Supreme Court as well, and a letter petition has been filed before the Chief Justice. The letter petition seeks the Supreme Court to take suo motu cognizance of the issue and carry out a court-monitored probe. Let's go across to Sukirti for more. Sukirti, give us more details of this letter, and it's also raised questions on the Delhi police.
Well, yes, this letter has been written by a Delhi-based lawyer. What he seeks is that the Supreme Court should take suo motu cognizance of this issue and set up a committee which should be headed by a sitting judge of the Supreme Court, and this should be an entirely court-monitored probe. The plea alleges that the Delhi police's investigation will not be done in an impartial manner because it states their past record of how the Delhi riots investigation of 2020 was conducted, and even the Supreme Court had admonished the Delhi police on the way they had handled things. The plea says that since that event, the public faith in the Delhi police has reduced, and that is why the court needs to step up on this issue, and that is why there should be a court-monitored probe into the way this entire violence unfolded.
All right, Sukirti, so a letter on the Jahangirpuri riots, but stay with us for the next news item as well. And now the Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind has filed a plea in the Supreme Court, and this is regarding the issue of bulldozing of properties of those accused of riots, and that has been brought to the Supreme Court's notice. Remember, in Madhya Pradesh, after riots took place in Khargone on Ram Navami, that's the 10th of April, on the 11th, properties of those accused started getting demolished. Now, the plea says there's most of the victims are religious and caste minorities, and it also talks about this practice of bulldozing properties of accused taking place in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. Sukirti, tell us more about this plea.
Well, yes, this particular petition has been filed by an organization called Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind. What they are saying that when these properties of these riot accused are being bulldozed, most of the victims are religious as well as caste minorities. Now, the plea says that such actions, illegal actions against minorities, are a direct attack on the secular fabric that has been stated in the Constitution of India. It opposes the manner in which these properties are being bulldozed without there being any kind of court orders. It says that the administration in these states has been acting with full impunity because they are being supported by the state's top leadership. It also says that MLAs, MPs, other ministers have been making statements and have been declaring criminal culpability without any criminal orders being placed. So there should be proper court directions on the fact that no such property should be demolished until unless there are any court orders in place. And also these top leaders or people who are in positions of authority, they should also be prevented from making any such statements. The plea says that all of this, the way this entire action is being taken, is against fundamental rights, against the right to equality as well as the right to practice religion, since many of these actions are happening against religious minorities.
All right, Sukirti, thanks so much for joining us with those details. And let's focus now on the Khargone riots. So from Delhi now to Madhya Pradesh, the first death has been reported from the Ram Navami clashes in Khargone that took place on the 10th of April. Ibris Khan alias Saddam, who was missing since the 10th of April, has now been found dead. The police called his family to Indore's MY hospital and they handed over the body to them. They had been looking for him since the riots took place. Well, let's go across to Anurag Dwari now for more. And Anurag, till now, no death had been reported. We knew of one person injured and a policeman also injured during the riots. But it seems that this man actually died on the night of the riots, and it's taken so many days for his family to be given his body.
Yes, Gargi, he was a local municipality worker, and he survived with a wife and a toddler son. And his brother has made some serious allegations that he went to offer namaz at the local mosque, and he said that he had seen him in police custody and on April 10th evening, and the cops who lodged murder case on 14th night had lodged a missing person report on the complaint of his brother 12 hours before the murder case was registered against unidentified person. Ikhlaq also questions why did the police take over a week to inform them about the killing and ask them to identify the body, as Ibris family, including mother Mumtaz, were endlessly searching for him since April 10th. Now, there are some serious questions because I have seen his body, the postmortem pictures of his body. He has got a sharp cut on his neck and, some injury marks on his, just above his right ear. And as per the FIR, the police got the information that they have found a dead body in Kapas compound area of Khargone on 10th night, and they have mentioned this in FIR that on 11th, technically 10th night and 11th morning at around 1 a.m. they got this information, and 4 days he was there. They performed a short post-mortem also there in Khargone. And after 4 days, 14th, they have registered this FIR, sent the body to MY hospital and then informed his family members. And again, as I said, before registering the FIR for murder, 12 hours before, they have registered an missing person complaint when his brother came and filed for a missing person complaint. Then who stopped them from, then in normal procedure, what happens that when the police, got the information of about any unidentified body, they immediately tries to search for their family members. But in this case, they were running from pillar to post to lodge a complaint about a missing person. Then finally, the police registered a complaint on 14th, and then 12 hours later, they registered a complaint of murder against unidentified people.
In other news now, Hatemonger Yati Anand has allegedly violated his bail condition yet again. He's participating in a Dharam Sansad in Una in Himachal Pradesh, where attendees gave alleged hate speeches. NDTV Saurabh Shukla spoke with the organizer of the event.
आप धर्म संसद कर रहे हैं, इसका आयोजन किया है, क्या इसके लिए आपने प्रशासन से इजाजत ली है?
प्रशासन को हमने निमंत्रण दिया है, डीसी साहब को निमंत्रण दिया है, एसडीएम साहब को निमंत्रण दिया है, और यहाँ पे जितने भी हमारे नेता हैं उनको निमंत्रण दिया हुआ है।
निमंत्रण दिया, इजाज़त नहीं मांगी?
इजाज़त किस बात की? मैं अपने घर में कोई प्रोग्राम करा रहा हूँ तो उसके लिए मुझे इजाज़त चाहिए। मैं अपने घर में मैं अपने मित्रों को बुला रहा हूँ, अपने भाइयों को बुला रहा हूँ, तो उसके लिए मुझे इजाज़त चाहिए। ये कुछ सार्वजनिक थोड़ा है।
लेकिन अगर किसी भी एक, आप बोल रहे हैं ये प्राइवेट फंक्शन है आपका, ये एक आपका निजी आयोजन है, अगर निजी आयोजन में संविधान के खिलाफ अगर कोई बात हो या सामाजिक सौहार्द खराब करने वाली कोई बात हो, तो जाहिर सी बात है उसमें प्रशासन बीच में आएगा, और ऐसा हुआ है। और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी ये केस गया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इसी धर्म संसद को लेकर के जवाब मांगा हिमाचल सरकार से, और हिमाचल सरकार को जवाब देना है इस पूरे मामले में।
लगता है आपको जानकारी नहीं है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने साफ कहा है कि हम किसी भी निजी धर्म के कार्य के लिए हम कोई भी उसको स्टॉप नहीं कर सकते, किसी को रोक नहीं सकते हैं। दूसरी बात, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने साफ कहा है कि अगर आपको लगता है तो आप वहाँ के जाके अधिकारी से मिले और उनको जाके परिचित करें। ये बात लिखी है।
जो बात बोली,
एक बात बोलने को आप नफरती बताते हैं, जो हमारी बच्ची का मर्डर हो गया उसको नफरती बताते हैं, ये बताओ। उसके लिए तो आप आए नहीं कोई भी, उसके लिए आपका कोई मीडिया है नहीं।
कानून कार्रवाई कर रहा है,
तो कहाँ कानून कार्रवाई कर रहा है? अगर कानून कार्रवाई करता तो एनएच बंद नहीं होता। यहाँ पे एनएच क्यों बंद हुआ? अगर कानून से कार्रवाई करता तो यहाँ पे बंद होता।
आप उसके जिम्मेदार हैं, अपने निजी आयोजन के जिम्मेदार हैं।
किसके?
आप तो
बच्ची के जिम्मेदार भी मैं हूँ। क्यों नहीं है? मेरे समाज की बच्ची मरी हो, मैं उसका जिम्मेदार नहीं हूँ? अरे क्या बात कर रहे, क्या पत्रकारिता कर रहे हैं आप?
लेकिन अगर धर्म संसद में हथियार उठाने की बात होती है और बात होती है कि शस्त्र उठाने चाहिए,
अच्छा मुझे ये बताइए,
तो ये आपको लगता है कि ये भड़कावा नहीं है, ये उकसावा नहीं है?
मुझे ये बताइए, अभी हमारे नवरात्रों में रैलियों में इतने पत्थरबाजी, इतने क्या पेट्रोल बम फेंके गए, किसी ने आवाज उठाई? जैसे आप धर्म संसद के लिए बोल रहे हैं कि धर्म संसद ने
बोला कहाँ कुछ तो बताया आपको किसमें अपराधियों को पकड़ा गया है, उनके खिलाफ कड़ी कार्रवाई की जा रही है।
उसी की बात कर रहा हूँ। आपको जैसे पता है कि धर्म संसद हो रही है, यहाँ पे नफरती बयानबाजी होगी, तो आपको ये क्यों नहीं पता है कि जो वो पेट्रोल बम फेंक रहे हैं उसके कौन सी विचारधारा है जिससे वो हमारे समाज के ऊपर, हमारी आस्था के ऊपर, हमारे मंदिर तोड़ रहे हैं? हमारी किस विचारधारा के कारण वो हम पे पेट्रोल बम फेंक रहे हैं, हमारे बच्चों को पत्थर फेंक रहे हैं, हमारे बच्चियों की किलिंग कर रहे हैं?
In other news from the national capital, where auto and taxi drivers associations are on a 2-day strike starting today, protesting the soaring fuel prices. Several unions of the auto and cab drivers are demanding that fare rates be hiked and that fuel prices be reduced. The strike has not been called off despite assurances from the Delhi government to resolve the issue. The Delhi government had announced forming a committee to look into a fare revision in a time-bound manner.
मेरा नाम कमलजीत गिल है और आज से हमने सरकार को 10 दिन पहले इंटीमेशन भी दिया था कि हमारी जो सीएनजी के रेट बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, ठीक है, और हमारा जो किराया कम है, 2015 से हमारा किराया कम है, तो उस पर थोड़ा ध्यान दो। हमारे बच्चे हमारे पढ़ नहीं रहे और सीएनजी के दाम जो इतने आसमानों को छू गए, पेट्रोल को छू गए, हमारा बिल्कुल पड़ता नहीं खा रहा। तो उसके लिए ओला उबर का किराया निर्धारित कराया जाए सरकार द्वारा और साथ में सीएनजी के दामों में हमको सब्सिडी दी जाए 50%। लेकिन सरकार ने हमारी एक बात भी नहीं सुनी। उसके कारण आज हमें लगातार ओला उबर के ड्राइवरों को स्ट्राइक पर जाना पड़ रहा है। ये मजबूरी है हमारी। अब इसके लिए इसकी जिम्मेवार सरकार है, ना कि ये ड्राइवर। ये मजबूर है।
Time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, the Supreme Court to give its order today on the plea to cancel the bail granted to Ashish Mishra, the main accused in the Lakhimpur Kheri violence. We'll get to the details. Welcome back. The Supreme Court will today pronounce its order on a plea to cancel the bail that was granted to Ashish Mishra. He's the main accused in the Lakhimpur Kheri violence case and the son of a union minister. The case pertains to the mowing down of farmers in October last year amid protests against the centre's 3 farm laws that were later withdrawn. A special 3-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice will deliver this verdict. The top court had earlier objected to the Allahabad High Court's February 10th order in which relied on irrelevant details in the FIR and post-mortem reports to grant bail to Mishra. Let's go across to Sukirti for more on this. And Sukirti, the UP government had actually defended and had said they had no objection to him being given bail.
While the UP government did not give a clear yes or no on whether they would be filing an appeal against the bail, but yes, there was a level of defense that they presented in favor of Ashish Mishra by saying that one, he is not a flight risk, and second, that he is not a repeat offender. The third explanation that they had given, in addition to the fact that the petitioners were saying that Ashish Mishra being out on bail is a threat to witnesses since many witnesses were being attacked. The UP government, on the other hand, said that the attacks so far have been over personal disputes those have nothing to do with the case, and all the witnesses have been given proper security. So the UP government, as far as they are concerned, yes, no clear objection in the Supreme Court earlier from their end to Ashish Mishra being out on bail, but the Supreme Court will also be taking into consideration certain technical grounds, certain technicalities that they pointed out that had gone wrong with the Allahabad High Court order, which went into certain details that are only looked at the trial stage, which has not even begun yet. So there are more basic criteria that the Allahabad High Court should have considered while giving bail, and the Supreme Court will be looking at all of these aspects and then pronouncing its order.
All right. Thanks so much, Sukirti, for joining us with those details. Now, a setback for the Congress in Assam. Former Assam Congress President Ripun Bora has joined the Trinamool Congress in the presence of the party's National General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee in Kolkata. Mr. Bora, as a joint candidate of the opposition parties in Assam, had unsuccessfully contested the recent Rajya Sabha election, and he wrote in his resignation letter to Congress Chief Sonia Gandhi that infighting within the Grand Old Party helped the BJP and compelled him to leave despite having been a member since his student days in 1976. Now, according to a report in the New York Times, an ambitious effort by the World Health Organization to calculate the global death toll from the coronavirus pandemic has found that vastly more people died than previously believed. A total of about 15 million by the end of 2021. That's more than double the official toll. But the release of the staggering estimate, the result of more than a year of research and analysis by experts around the world, and the most comprehensive look at the lethality of the pandemic to date, has been delayed for months because of objections from India, which disputes the calculation of how many of its citizens died and has tried to keep it from becoming public. Nayantara reports.
According to a recently published New York Times report, new data from the World Health Organization pegs India's actual COVID death toll at about 40 lakh deaths as compared to the central government's own official count of only 5.2 lakh. This would mean that India has seen almost 8 times more COVID deaths in official figures. The world's top health body, while yet to release detailed numbers, has calculated that a total of 1.5 crore people have died due to the coronavirus pandemic across the world by the end of 2021, which is more than double of the 60 lakh tally the nations around the world have reported so far. This would mean that almost 90 lakh COVID deaths have gone unreported, with India accounting for over a third of them. Not only that, but this report, when published, will give India the highest COVID death tally in the world, surpassing even the USA, which currently stands at number 1. Now, according to the New York Times, WHO's report has taken over a year of research in the making, but the dated release has been continuously postponed due to India's objections at the methodology used to calculate these deaths. The Ministry of Health and Welfare responded to the New York Times article in a statement which said that India's basic objection has not been the result, whatever that might have been, but rather the methodology adopted for the same. This report led multiple opposition members to raise their voices against the BJP-led government. For instance, Rahul Gandhi asked PM Modi to accept responsibility and give a compensation of 4 lakh rupees to every victim's family, while TMC's Mahua Moitra said lying and stalling doesn't make the truth go away.
Time for a break. On the other side, our special reports from Ukraine, and NDTV speaks to soldiers who are engaged in risky demining efforts. Welcome back. News now from Ukraine, where at least 5 people were killed and 13 wounded in Russian shelling of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, on Sunday. The barrage slammed into apartment buildings and left the streets scattered with broken glass and other debris. Firefighters and residents scrambled to douse flames in several apartments, while medics and Ukrainian servicemen tried to help injured people in the street. The northeastern city of Kharkiv has been a target of attacks since the early days of Russia's invasion. The outskirts of the northern Ukrainian city of Chernihiv lay in ruins on Sunday, with the landscape dotted with destroyed Russian military equipment, evidence of a chaotic retreat some 70 miles to the northeast of capital Kiev. Chernihiv bore the brunt of early days of a Russian invasion. The city and its surrounding region saw relentless fighting until Russian forces withdrew. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reiterated the country's resolve to fight the Russian forces in the Donbas region in his daily address on Sunday. Zelensky said that Russia was intent on destroying the once celebrated industrial might of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. He also renewed calls for increased military shipments as the battle over the eastern regions is brewing.
Російські війська готуються до наступальної операції на сході нашої держави. Вже найближчим часом хочуть буквально добити і знищити Донбас. Знищити все, що колись дало славу цьому промисловому регіону. Так само, як російські військові знищують Маріуполь, вони хочуть стерти з лиця землі і інші міста, інші громади Донецької і Луганської областей. Робимо все, щоб забезпечити оборону. Постійно контактуємо з партнерами, вдячні тим, хто допомагає дійсно усім, чим може допомогти. Але ті, хто має необхідні нам зброю і боєприпаси і притримує свою допомогу, повинні знати, що від них також залежить доля цієї битви, доля людей, які можуть бути врятовані.
And NDTV's Vishnu Shom reports from war-zone Ukraine. The horrors of war have devastated the country. A kindergarten school has become a Russian military base in areas near Marikiv, where active battle was fought. NDTV talks to soldiers who are now engaged in risky demining operations.
We are in the Maidan Square in the center of Kiev. What is life like in this capital of a war-struck country, a country which has seen so much devastation? I'm going to be speaking to members of the Ukrainian military and also civilians to give you an idea of what life is in Kiev at the moment. Thank you all very much for being with us. It's great to speak to all of you, and my friend Vlad over here as well. Let me come to you first. What is your name?
Nazar.
And Nazar, what have you seen in the last 50 odd days? How has life changed for you personally?
Obviously the life has moved from normal civilian stance to military stance. Most of us, me in particular, we lost our jobs. I mean, we were not fired, but we had to do other things. So I volunteer. I help to supply the armed forces. So yeah, basically that's what I do every day. And yeah, basically.
Where were you working before this?
I was working in logistics and supply.
Right.
Yeah, so obviously I do the same now, but for the military.
Right.
Yeah, basically all you do is to support the military
Yeah.
and to support our defenders. So basically you do this 14 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week.
And just in the Kiev area or elsewhere as well?
Yeah, mostly in the Kyiv area myself, but you know, there are millions of people like me doing similar stuff all over Ukraine.
Sure.
Yeah, I think in most of cases people just move to kind of military race, military economy.
Sure. That's interesting. In fact, that's an interesting point because, you know, we were discussing this earlier on. Civilians and the military have really come together now in Ukraine. You know, there's no difference. You know, before it was the military. They're all working together for a common cause.
Yeah, we have organization of volunteers and veterans of the previous war, the beginning of this war 8 years ago. And part of us are civilians, part of us are military men. We work together to supply other military units, to supply our unit with everything needed, as well as we provide everything needed for the civilians who try to escape from the war. And right now we are standing on this exact place where 8 years ago revolution started, and Russia invaded Ukraine 8 years ago.
And you were injured over here.
Yeah,
you have a grenade injury.
Yeah.
Where were you at that stage? You can point it out actually.
Yeah, this exact street is called Institutska, and this is the exact place where snipers were shooting people, and over 100 people were killed by Berkut.
Yeah.
And now we know that among them there were FSB agents, so Russian agents who provided all information and all orders to kill Ukrainians over here. So the war started 8 years ago, and even before the invasion, Crimea and Donbass, it started right here.
And that's an important point which I think a lot of us forget, that in Ukraine this is not a new war, it's an old war which is continuing.
Владиславович.
That
что это не новая война, это война, которая длится уже 8 лет против России, то есть это не новая какая-то страница, это то, що происходило раніше, правильно?
Так, звичайно, це війна, яка триває вже 8 років, і власне тут були на цьому місці її перші такі масові жертви, коли десятки людей загинули в боротьбі саме з Росією, саме з Путіним за те, щоб Україна могла вільно і демократично розвиватися. А зараз це все переросло в таку надзвичайно брутальну гарячу стадію.
So 8 years ago it was started here in that place, and the first victims of this war was here in that place.
Right.
So and now it's just like a, you know, like a
continuation.
like a hot period of this war. But it started here in this place. First victims was here, and it was started 8 years ago. So just like a
Mass victims.
Mass victims. And let me ask you this. There is so much uncertainty right now. And a lot of people would say that, look, you know, the Russians have gone away from the Kiev area. But in fact, the war is not over, not at all. So do you feel that this is a lull before the storm, a pause before the real storm?
like you mean that
in the Donbass area, they will keep fighting again very hard?
Yeah, for sure. Our people felt it in ourselves. That was before the full-scale invasion. Like they felt it on their skin in Kyiv now.
Yeah.
But this war took a place during 8 years already, and right now Russians was destroyed in Kyiv region. But like we still feel the smell of the war here.
Yeah.
You can see the checkpoints everywhere, soldiers with rifles.
And where did you work, or what were you doing before this?
In peace times, I was a music composer and work as like film composer.
Right.
And when war came real, I started to be a volunteer.
Yeah.
Yes, and I stayed in Kiev and helped as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. How has the life of your family changed after the war began?
Okay, my family now lives in different country and
In Poland or
no, Turkey.
In Turkey, right?
Yeah, Turkey maybe not the best country for Ukrainian, but okay. But
Right.
okay anyway. And exactly, it's difficult. It's difficult to.
It must be so difficult for you.
For me, it's
you're
exactly
fighting over here, and your family is
for me
away.
exactly
You
it
don't know
was.
when you're
For
gonna
me, it's
see them.
exactly was really difficult solution to go to battalions because. I'm not a soldier, I'm not professional soldier, and it was really difficult.
So you aren't a professional soldier, you decided to come here to fight.
Yes.
And when did you come? When did you come?
Kharkiv.
No, to this...
beginning of March.
In the beginning of March.
Beginning of
You came in the beginning of March.
Yeah.
You're from Ukraine, from Kharkiv itself.
Kharkiv, yeah.
But you decided to join the army. And,
Yeah,
and
yes.
Why did you want to do that? Because
Come-
you aren't a trained
c-
soldier. So-
Come on, it's my country, it's war, and I must do it. Anyway, because if I don't do it, my sons will have the same problem. Anyway.
How many sons do you have?
2.
2 sons? That's also so interesting that again, you've got volunteers involved in so many different ways. He's not a soldier, but he's become a soldier right now. Could you tell us a little bit about how in this situation, everybody in Ukraine is coming together to contribute one way or the other?
Сейчас в это время все в Украине объединены вокруг одной цели, чтобы победить в этой войне, и военной, и гражданской. Что ты об этом думаешь?
Так як 24 лютого почалась друга фаза війни, бо перша фаза почалась ще в часи Майдану в 2014 році.
As on 24 of February started the second part of this war, because the first part was started here in that place 8 years ago when the revolution started, and were first people were killed, first men. So.
То зараз у цивільного населення майже нема можливості залишитись якось в стороні від цієї події, і потрібно як можна більше допомагати армії, допомагати волонтерам і якось наближати перемогу.
So the civilians have no another way just to be involved in this process and help maximum as they can to help the army, to help the militaries, to beat the Russian troops. So civilians have nothing to do anymore. They just do what they need to do.
Let me come across to you and ask you a question, because as a civilian myself, this is what really affected me, really hurt me. I was in Lviv before I came over here, and there were people from Kharkiv, from Sumy, from Chernobyl moving away to Poland. Young children, wives, older people, their husbands, their brothers, their fathers staying on in Ukraine. So for me the most difficult story was families being divided. Is that also something that affects you personally, or something that affects your friends?
Много людей из Харькова, из других мест, где идут активные боевые действия, Сум, из Чернобыля и так далее, из Киевского региона. Их дети, они вынуждены были, много людей, уехать в Польшу, в другие места, и дети, и их жены, и так далее, и так далее. И его больше всего волнует, взволновало именно вот это, когда семьи вынуждены быть разлучены. Да? Есть ли что-то для тебя, что максимально тронуло тебя, что принесла война в жизни обычных людей в Украине?
Моя жена сейчас в Польше, сама с собакой. Ее мать с братом во Львове. С Киева выехали.
So his wife with her mother in Lviv now, in Poland, and with a dog, and another his родители.
Теща.
And his wife with a dog in Poland, and the mother of his wife in Lviv now.
Okay.
А моя мать, моя сестра, племянница и отец, они находятся в Херсоне, который сейчас оккупированы.
His father and his mother and also his nephew is now in Kherson, which is occupied now.
Yes. So how do you communicate with them? Are you able to call them?
Да, пока да. Иногда пропадает связь, но пока еще есть интернет, то есть возможность. Они прячутся, ну и ждут, что может быть.
So they are hiding now in Kherson, and they also have the internet, so time to time he can call them.
Yeah, I have to say something about this. I have 1-year-old son, and just after the invasion they moved with my wife to Poland. Now currently they are moving to the Great Britain, and my son just started to walk after the invasion, so I just passed this moment. And he started
You never saw him walk for the first time as a father?
Yeah, he just started to walk, and I've seen just first steps, and he started to walk like normal walk just now, and just now he started to talk. So I just skipped this moment. So I'll never forget this, and I'll never forget that Russians took away this moment from me. So this is personal for all of us. Our families are divided all over the country, all over the world, and this is very painful for us.
Well, I'd like to thank you all very much for speaking to us. It's been great getting an idea from all of the individuals over here about how difficult life is, but they're committed to the cause of Ukraine, and there isn't a moment when any of them seem to suggest anything but the need to keep on fighting in this situation. As difficult as it may be, they're separated from their families, from their friends, and they're civilian, they're military, but they're all together. That is the spirit that one sees in Ukraine, which is really behind the military effort, which has seen the defeat of the Russians, at least in this part of the country. With Ashok Mahale, Vishnu Shom for NDTV.